You're polygamous, so it's kind of like they're
Yeah,
also
so I
learning.
wasn't supposed to fall in love?
I don't know.
I
I think the tenet was to love everybody equally.
Try that.
No,
Your relationship with all your children is different. Your relationship with all your friends is different. There are ones that do different things that have different fulfillments and stuff like that. It's like you find higher love,
yeah.
and then everybody just slaps you down for it.
Hi, besties. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back. It's Friday, May 23rd, 2025, the longest season of Sister Wives ever. It's May. The season originally started back in September, and we are on 9 months now, and we're going to get into the tell all now. And I would have thought that coming out of, this concept that, everything had been buried at the funeral of Garrison. That's what Cody said. Everything had been buried. They came together. Everything was fine. Yeah, that lasted 2 seconds, not even through the funeral. And unfortunately for Garrison, that was all on television. But now we're back to the tell all and we're back to fighting and yelling and screaming about Cody and Robyn and Cody and Robyn flipping out about everyone else and not understanding how they contributed to the fallout in this family. And I just, after all of these years of watching Cody and all the times he lied about how much he loved these women and spent years and years and years trying to convince us all that this was, one big happy family and he was doing everything equally and he was contributing and he was doing all the things. I mean, he spent years with that narrative. And had Christine not left him, they would still be saying that today. That's the point. Just want to make this clear. Cody would not be admitting that he fell in love with Robyn if the other women would have stayed and allowed him to just do whatever he wanted, like they had been for years. He would have been fine with all of them, just never seeing them as long as they kept his secrets. And they all knew what was going on. So nothing's really changed. The only difference is that they're not protecting him anymore. And so now he's tired of having to answer questions about what he's done. And I think a lot of us are just growing tired of the conversation about the breakups, but Suki's getting paid a job, right? And she's being asked to recap the season with them and have them do their tell all where they can talk about everything that happened in the season. And if we have to go all the way back to the beginning, it means we're going back to Mary moving and leaving Cody and then Janelle formally moving from Flagstaff to North Carolina. And so the family in this season completely disintegrates. It was basically disintegrated at the end of season 18, but season 19, the beginning of it, solidified that end. It was over. And so now we have to go all the way back again to talk about why it's over. And in order for Cody to try to justify everything that he has done, he has to rewrite the narrative and make it like he's just the victim of someone that fell in love. But that's sort of missing the point. But what I find awful about all of this is that instead of actually behaving like an adult and not getting angry, not being dramatic, he has to like flip out at Suki, so much so that Suki, for the first time, finally looks like she's had enough of Cody. And if I were being paid for this job, I would quit. Honestly, if anyone spoke to me like this, there is absolutely no way I would be okay with anyone degrading and being just so demeaning like this. And he continues to use objectionable language that's just awful. Cody will never take responsibility. And even after his son died, he refuses to just reflect and accept that he made mistakes and that the reason why this fell apart was because of him.
I'll tell you what, there's a divine aspect about my relationship with Robyn, and we have been bitch slapped for it.
But
and I am sick of it.
I know, but you feel
I'm like walking around with, like, I love this woman and I want peace in this relationship.
Right.
But I'm to the point where I'm walking around flipping two birds because I am so sick and tired
but let's get
of
back.
being guilted for loving Robyn.
Sometimes when people don't have an answer for a question instead of answering the question, I feel like there are some people that just get loud and angry and yell and scream. And I think we all have that in our capacities. We all have the capacity to yell and scream. But in this case, it feels like he's yelling and screaming and getting huffy because he's trying to like just really drive home the point that he doesn't want to talk about this and that he's so sick of it. And it's missing the point completely, right? The question I think was, loving the wives equally, the covenant of plural marriage, where the point of the relationships is that you're supposed to expand your capacity, which obviously it's a flawed system. It was designed by a cult leader, Joseph Smith, who is just trying to cheat on his wife, and he developed this whole scheme about polygamy after he got caught by his wife and by people that he took and by other members of his church, his followers. Either way, that's irrelevant to this point. The point is that he is like getting angry for no reason. There's no reason that he can't just answer this question. And so instead, he has to just yell and scream about how his relationship with Robyn is divine, which is really insulting if you know their faith, because they're all of in their faith, all of the relationships are supposed to be divine. So what does that mean about his other marriages? They weren't divine. They weren't called from God. It wasn't destiny. Because for how many years did Cody say that the relationships were destiny? It felt like they were all supposed to be destined together, because in their belief system, it is that everything is predestined, predetermined, right? And so you're up in spirit baby land before you come down. And before you even come down, you already have a husband that's supposed to be with you, or a wife. And so once you find them, it's supposed to be, oh, you found your spirit person that was already assigned to you before you came to earth. And then your whole time on earth, you're just trying to get all of the spirits from heaven that were already assigned to you because it was divine from God. And so, thus, by saying that she is the divine one, it's saying the rest of them weren't. So then what was the point of being with them, Cody? To have sex? The man that says he wasn't a womanizer, these relationships weren't divine? I thought that that was the whole point of your faith. Oh god. And the way that he yells and screams and gets mad, someone told me once that knows the family, one of Christine's cousins said that anytime that Cody would get mad at one of the women, he would get in their face and yell and scream and like puff out his chest. And this is exactly what he's doing to Suki. It's no different. He hasn't changed. And I hate when people do this to people.
I'm to the point where I'm walking around flipping two birds because I am so sick and
Yeah,
tired
but let's get
of
back.
being guilty for loving Robyn.
Yes, but you kind of contradicted yourself because
How?
you just
How
kind
did
of
I
said, because you said that you couldn't love a person the same
Are we
way.
supposed to go, okay, I was in
right?
cells all my life. There was always a better salesman.
You
Am I
also
supposed to
said
go
you can't-
murder the better salesman because I'm so jealous that he's getting all the deals?
But Christine,
Let's get
really-
real. This is bull that just pisses me off, Suki.
Put yourself in Suki's position here. She's sitting there doing a job, okay? And her job is to ask questions of a talent that's been hired on a show that's talent for a show called Sister Wives, where the premise of the show is following the stories of a man that had 4 wives. And now it's a story about what happens when a man loses all of his wives. And you're hired by a network to come to a set and ask questions of a man about what happened that season. And you're actually told that you have to stick within a certain bound of questions, because if you don't, the man will probably get huffy and puffy and threaten to walk off set. Now imagine that that man has a contract with a network, and part of that contract means that he is required to finish out his contract. He is required to do what is required within that contract, which means he is required to ask. He's required to film. He's required to answer questions about what was filmed. He's required to participate in a tell-all at the end of the season where he is asked questions about the season and reflect upon those questions and be asked pointed questions about and respond to what other people have said. No different than the talking heads. He is required under his contract to complete that. That's his responsibility. And instead of doing that, and to start and to get away from, a breach of contract, he has a fit, he yells, he screams, and he uses his loud voice to try to like remind everyone that he's not going to do that. And they know, Sister Wives producers, that he has a history of threatening production and threatening people that if he doesn't do something, he will X, Y, and Z. He has had every single woman that has been on the stage with him that has been a tell-all host fired. Fired because of questions that they asked that they were hired to ask by the network. He has had Natalie Morales fired. He has had Tamron Hall fired. He has had, I don't even know how many they've had total, maybe 5 or 6 total hosts before Suki that were fired. Suki was hired by TLC to come in, and her job is to follow the script of what they would like her to ask, revisit what's being said on the show. There is definitely an agenda that she's given ahead of time. There are certain questions she's not allowed to ask because it's off limits. And she stays within this script. And she's told, as long as you stay within this script, everything will be fine. And the talent they will participate. They will not be difficult. And that's the framework. As long as you stay within this, everything will be fine. He will not get angry. We'll be good. But instead, you have to come into an environment where if you ask the question that's on the script, the person that you're asking the question to flips out and screams. Now, you're getting paid to do this, and you're getting paid to get yelled and screamed at by someone. That's a hostile work environment. I don't know, Suki, maybe you have a claim against TLC for a hostile work environment. And imagine just for a second, what if this was someone like from NBC News? What if this was a Dateline NBC episode? What if this was 2020, 60 Minutes, and Cody was sitting across from a man and acting this way and screaming and yelling? Can you think of other interviews where people have acted like this? I can. I can think of like there was a time when R. Kelly got super mad when he was getting interviewed and he screamed and yelled and he like walked off the set. I think he was getting interviewed by, was it Gail King? I can't remember. But there have definitely been people that have been interviewed on the news and then they get so angry they yell, scream, and walk off set. That's what Cody's doing. And when those people scream, yell, and walk off set and act like this, it's big news. And it's embarrassing for that person because of the way that they're acting. But for some reason, when Cody does it, it's entertainment. It's just packaged as though we should accept it because this is how he acts. But Cody is an employee, well, a contractor for TLC, and Suki is a contractor for TLC. And in this exchange, one contractor is literally screaming and yelling at another contractor. Please tell me how this is acceptable for employment. And instead of addressing the issue that is Kody Brown, I guarantee you what will happen is we are going to see more and more and more of him screaming and yelling at Suki, refusing to cooperate, refusing to answer basic questions, and TLC will placate him. They will make it so that he participates and cooperates instead of holding firm to their contract. Because, I sometimes think, what if the producers just said to Cody, hey, listen, dude, you need to calm the F down. You need to stop yelling at our hired journalist that's here to ask questions. This is inappropriate behavior. It's an unsafe work environment for her with how you're screaming and yelling and posturing towards her, which is aggressive. It's a threatening manner in which you're talking to her. You need to calm the F down, Cody, or we're going to hold you in breach of contract. Do you think anyone on the staff of Sister Wives has ever said that to Cody? Do you think anyone has held his feet to the fire and said, listen, you need to stop treating people this way? Do you think they have ever tried? Because they are the ones that hold the power here. And if TLC thinks it's okay in 2025 for anyone to sit across from anyone, there where two people are getting paid by the network and to have one be this verbally abusive to the other, is that okay? What kind of, I've spent all this time focusing on, and working on this case with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And at the heart of that case, it's all about workplace hostile environments of work environment that didn't happen on the set of Wayfair, right? Of the film. But her claims that it did. And spending all this time learning about workplace discrimination and workplace hostile environments and the rights of people that are working on sets in production. And I'm sitting here watching it from that lens now thinking, what are TLC producers sending telling the women that come onto their set that they're paying, if they're gonna justify and excuse this kind of behavior. She didn't do anything that warranted that response. She didn't do anything where he could yell and scream at her like that. He was not just yelling about Christine or the wives or everyone, loving Robyn. He's like literally yelling at Suki at this point and telling her that this line of questioning is inappropriate and not okay when she did nothing wrong. And then when she simply tries to point out that he contradicted himself because he did, he's like, this is bullshit. I don't want to talk about it. So the message is clear. If you keep going down this line, I'm walking off set. So who is protecting Suki in this position? Is this why Suki's looking off to the producers, shaking her head at one point? Literally, she's looking off camera. You know she's looking at the person that's behind the camera because that producer is sitting by the camera. They do in every single tell-all. And you know that she is shaking her head at that producer and telling them, I'm not okay with this. Who's protecting Suki from this kind of behavior? What is it going to take for TLC to realize that this kind of abusive behavior is unacceptable? You know, she'll get fired by Cody this season, I guarantee it. Or she's going to quit. Because how many times do you have to be on the stage with a man where he yells and screams at you? How many seasons is she going to do this? Is it really worth, I don't know, 10 grand maybe she gets for this? 20 grand? I'm guessing she doesn't get paid a whole lot for these tell-alls. Is it really worth that exposure that your job includes getting yelled and screamed at? Because if you were working for NBC, this wouldn't happen. If you were working for CBS, this wouldn't happen. You would have people actually protecting you. You would have a union. This is not safe environment for anyone. Why isn't Cody ever held accountable for this? I mean, it takes away from the fact that everything he's saying is just nonsense. Cody is has no respect for anyone, and no one holds him accountable, not even TLC. Do you think that this is going to be like a cutoff for Suki where she's like, I can't do this anymore? Do you think TLC will ever hold him accountable? Can you think of any other television show where this is allowed? I've never seen it before. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.